Okay. Um, I let's put this on screen. Uh, okay, this is Reb Tzadok Tzidkas Simon Kuf Vav 106. And it's a very fundamental one, although it gets into carry as well, but it's still fundamental. And I'm only al di betar l'kein nichshel b'hem. Nichshel. A person is not able to understand Torah properly. Fails initially. Uh, Once he fails, he can understand Torah, but you have to fail first. I'm having trouble with my microphone here. Let's see. Okay, hopefully this will work out now. Um, Kamosh Kasuv, it says, a machshela, the pasuk says, "Machshela tiatachas yadecha." If you fail at something, then you'll be able to grasp it. It'll be in your hand. So he says here, "But machshela tivatem reveal they carry." If a person stumbles in Torah, brings him to emissions. Rachmana litzlan. May God preserve us. Like like we wrote elsewhere, a pasuk meaning mayim mishisiu. I took Moshe Rabbeinu out of the water. The water obviously alludes to the Mabul, which in the Dora Mabul was uh, Nichshal in Torah. They were supposed to accept it to receive the Torah. They failed. Then they never recovered from it. That's their problem. And they were also very much heavily involved in like inappropriate behavior, including emissions and carry. Kmoshko Samuel Os Ayin Vav meaning Dora Mabul, like we wrote previously about the generation of flood. Moshkavnu Sheva Yolim Bali Paked Ra. The Mazbiasmo Dibre Torah Mina Lehefech. There are okay. There's a person who doesn't have dreams for 7 days. It's considered to be in a bad state. Person is supposed to have dreams, and person um, supposed to satisfy himself from Divrei Torah. I'm not sure exactly. Don't recall the exact language of the Gemara there. But the opposite, I guess, is the person sometimes if they don't get satisfied Divrei Torah, then they get dreams in the other direction, which lead to missions. But in any event, he says this is the failure in Divrei Torah, which can be an introduction, a prelude, a preparation for success. Then afterwards, God's desire for him is successful, as he's able to accomplish in Torah, like we said previously. And after you stumble, you're going to be able to understand Torah. Meaning Yosef Shida, like we elsewhere about Yosef, who was the demon. We had that, but I don't remember what he said about that. Like we said, Tavonos donos nasus chios, that things which are averos become merits, things which are sins become merits. Zonim, and from bad waters, nepach me'adas becomes waters of wisdom. And the soul which was deprived of holiness enters into holiness. That's the Divrei Torah and becomes from the Divrei Torah. In other words, the soul itself becomes part and parcel of Torah. Kayadu, as is known, Shenefashis Misrael, that the souls of the Jews, Heimatzon Divrei Torah, they themselves are comprised of the Torah. Torah Sheba'al Peh is comprised of the souls of the Jewish people. B'yitzchashus Divrei Torah and a renewal in Divrei Torah will let us the Pashas Kedoshos, and is brings about the birth of holy souls. Balkain Isa b'Shabbos, the Shabbos Tav Chov Zayin Shona Talmidav. He learned the Torah over to students who mashis chayshlo daika achar shetava mikodim. So I forget who he was speaking about there, but he taught the students what he in the new perspectives he had after he went to the mikvah. tshuva vatikun, which is in itself the tshuva and the tikkun for the emission. So the emission is a bad thing, but again, if a person has the emission and uses it to do tshuva and to grow from it, so they it becomes a positive thing, and it's similar in this respect. And Tzadok links it very closely. I'm not sure why he links it so closely. He says to a failure to Torah, a person misunderstands Torah, and that is the stepping stone to understand Torah properly, because you can't understand something unless you get it wrong first, and then you fix it. Okay. Nir shezeh atzmo hayom mashkos v'char kach mina dula kaf schus. And then there it says that, he asked the students, you saw me do something which was suspicious. And what did you have? What did you think happened? There's a story there, no long story there, that he went into a noble woman, and closed the door behind him. And afterwards, he didn't let his students in. And then afterwards, he went out and went to the mikveh. So there's a whole discussion. Did you? He asked him, "Did you suspect me of that I sinned with this Roman noblewoman?" And they said, "No. We thought you had to deal with some secret matter of state." And he said, "You were right to be down in the kavschus, to judge me favorably and assume I did the right thing, and Hashem should bless you also and judge you favorably as well." So, Reb Tzadok wants to say that the he went to the mikveh because he had an emission, not having to do with this Roman noblewoman separately, and he, as a result of his having had this emission and having to go to the mikveh, he somehow, I'm not sure exactly how, was able to come up with this idea of being down the schus of radical assumptions that somebody is doing the right thing, even though it seems to be doing the wrong thing. And he says, to judge people favorably. I feel by you have to do that even if the episode, whatever is going on, seems to indicate the exact opposite. Seems quite clear to indicate the exact opposite. That somebody's doing wrong. He did not know that previously. He didn't realize how far being down the kapskut goes. That you have to judge people favorably, even in the face of what seems to be evidence that they did the wrong thing. You have to assume that they did the right thing. It says, like it says that about a student who wasn't checked. He was afraid of his students, that his students were not going to be able to withstand temptation. That's why he didn't let them come into the Roman noblewoman. So the Torah there is speaking in a euphemism. It's saying something in a nice way, but really what it means is not only did he not check his students, but he thought his students would succumb and commit averos. They would actually commit, they would engage themselves in arayas, in licentious behavior, in immoral behavior. He suspected the student of being somebody would be involved in inappropriate behavior. Because he didn't know this lesson, that you have to judge everybody in the kapskus. Even people who think that it's unlikely that they're doing the right thing, you have to assume they're doing the right thing. And since it says there that he didn't check his student. Marshall, from that we can assume the Bemis kosher, the student was actually a kosher person. But this his Rebbe didn't judge him favorably. The emission was the Rias carry, and therefore he himself was punished. The Rebbe was punished by seeing the emission. But the emission taught him you did the wrong thing. You shouldn't have judged your student, or even your student, unfavorably. At the same time, the Gemara doesn't say that. The Gemara says it happened to him that he saw the carry because it happened because he had come on a long, exhausting trip, and people come on long, exhausting trips to have emissions. So therefore, what do you mean the emission happened because he wasn't down as a student of the Kapschus? He didn't judge a student favorably. The mission, it says the mission happened because he came on a long trip. So he says no. The coming long trip is only one aspect, and would not have been a sufficient reason. Shaya Dar Mitzvah, because he was coming for the Bar Mitzvah to deal with the Roman government was saying having to do with saving the Jews. The Varishon Mitzvah Lei that Davarad, somebody who's doing a mitzvah properly, bad things don't happen. Vizeni Krarak, and they have an mission is called bad. So he's saying that, yeah, it could be the immediate reason was because of his having come a long trip, but it wouldn't have happened unless he also had done something wrong, because he's in the middle of doing a mitzvah with this long trip. So nothing wrong should have happened to him. If something wrong happened, it must be because he wasn't done as Talmid in the Kapschus. He didn't judge his students favorably. Rak Shekol Doranino Shem Sofo. But even though it was bad, in the end, everything is judged on how it ends up. Everything goes after the end. All's well that ends well. Vazni Kotov Mode. And then at the end, even this Kerry was called Tov Ma'od. And because he was able to learn new Torah, according to Tzadok, this Torah being Dalek Schus, even in extreme situations, to be judged people favorably. And and he only merited this revelation because he went on this difficult trip to redeem captives. Right? And what a captive he was redeeming. That young girl he was redeeming, she had conducted herself in the ways of non-Jews. And then he says in the parallel text that she had done things wrong. For Midas Chasidus, it was a pious deed of this Tana, Levakish Chuskam trying to find merit even for a Russia like this girl. Because and says like Rabbi Akiva, when he was not looking for his chutz for Shoim, like he said, the Bnei Dora Maba have no chel kol maba, Bnei Dora Midbar no chel kol maba. So Gemara says Rabbi Akiva forsook his piety. My chasudi said Kule, what was his piety? That he was dumb people at Kap's chutz, he tried to find parent for people, and that was his piety, and he stopped being pious in that way. And therefore, that Gemara Shabbos discusses this person who went to the Roman noblewoman to try and save the girl who was taken captive. He's called a chassid. Why is it called a chassid? Because he went beyond the letter of the law. Because he wanted to redeem a girl who wasn't even necessarily worthy. And a person, because a chassid, this gets back to Reb Tzadok's definition of chassid, who can see things because of the zigzag aspect of his personality. He doesn't just see things superficially with his eyes. He sees even in bad stuff, there's good stuff hidden inside. Since he was on this road of trying to find a merit for a girl who didn't even necessarily deserve it, so it's true that he stumbled because he wasn't done as students of Kapschus. He wasn't assumed that they might commit a sin if they were exposed to the Roman noblewoman. But still, because he was trying to do the right thing, it turned out good. So, that's why he merited then understanding this man of Torah to judge people favorably, which means to find the hidden good even in a bad deed. Which looks like his bad deed. Hashem is also Michshol, and Hashem brought him that stumbling block of seeing Kerry. And this is interesting because, somebody has Kerry, the Kabbalists say that he gives birth to a soul which is deficient, and it's without his will and without his intent. But sometimes when you learn Torah, when you come to a concept of Torah, that's the same thing in a good way. That you stumble on things. You can be thinking about thinking about something for a long time and nothing happens. And all of a sudden you get a brilliant thought. That brilliant thought just happens into your head. And that's like the flip side of Kerry. Just like Kerry's the mission, which happens all of a sudden without your planning. So this person was merited getting Torah without his planning. All of a sudden, this Torah came into his head. You have to be down people close, even if it's a very difficult situation. Uh, uh, so Misha may Mizuma also double bleed out to it's like somebody who comes to a conclusion without his own intellect, without his own efforts. I mean, Mechadish, this Torah, he also is able to save the girl. Lamon, because Lamon is able to understand this Torah. Okay, I didn't get much out of this piece. I'm not sure if you got much out of it either. But the point is that bad things which happen to good people may have good ends and they may have good purposes. And the idea that this person had a mission was he stumbled into the Torah is also a preparation to have a new chiddush in Torah and to come to new realizations, new perceptions. So bad phenomena, we hope somehow, we don't always know how, usually probably don't know how, will lead to good things in the end. And we have to try and use them to good purposes. And if somebody falls, they should know that falling is part of growing even higher. Okay. 107, Kub Zayin. Still with emissions. Tikkun mikro tefillah. If a person has a emission, he goes to the mikveh. Okay, because having seen seed for nothing, magia onashamabu should have the punishment of the generation of the flood. Because nida. So you go to the mikveh instead of going to a flood, getting punished by a flood. You purify yourself in the flood. You're going to the mikveh. Kabbalat smoganki dugmas mabu. Karega for a moment. He goes into the mikveh for a moment. He comes out. Hashem Yisbarach Amar Lo Osif. Hashem says, I'm not going to make another mabu. So if you punish yourself, that's good enough. Ki yetzer leiva adam raminua, because your yetzer is bad from your youth. Before a child knows, without his intent, the Yetzer was aroused within him. Even in sleep. That's why you have emissions in your sleep. But then you go below taito, that's called out your intent. Gone below das, nefesh lo tov. Even without das, even without intent, a bad thing can happen to a soul. See, Shabbos ain't lo tov el ra. But it says not. It's not good. Lo tov. It means ra. Zenik ra. The missions are called bad. It says himself. Says them over. Person doesn't commit a sin unless he becomes temporarily insane. This reference is the other god which enters a person. This insanity. Istaris, which is barren, below repair, and it can't make fruit. What does it mean that it can't make fruit? It can't connect to things. It has no das, it has no wisdom, it has no awareness and consciousness. Moshe Rabbeinu is the opposite of that. He represents the ultimate wisdom and the ultimate connection with Hashem. He fixes the Dora Mabul, who didn't show any connection. Rotzak said, and he wanted to fix this. Above. And he was removed, taken out of the water by the daughter of Paro, who was sort of mikveh. Okay, however that works. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was put into the river, he was put into mikveh, and at a very young age, he was fixing the bad stuff. The tents of Torah are likened to rivers. And this goes back to this idea, which he said also in the Gra, that Divrei Torah also are helpful to remove the blemish of Keri. The Tzadok said Divrei Torah b'tchila. You need Divrei Torah which you learn out of fear, of awe of God. The aim of Yira, because Keri is the opposite. It's frivolous. It's lighthearted. It's done without intention. Because without intent, that's the opposite of fear and awe. Mashkas of brachas. Bedora Mabul is similar to how it says in the Dora about the generation of the flood. But Rotzchin Kilkalu. They ruin themselves with the heat of emissions, not for the purpose of heaven. Rotzchin Didono, they were judged the heat with hot water of the Mabul of the flood. So you have to have awe, which is likened to heat, but of the right thing, not of the wrong thing. It should be, it says, Mr. Yud here, he made Tvila, that the Baal Keri, the person who had a mission has to go to the Mikvah, so he should learn Torah out of the awe of Hashem. He fixes himself first. Torah b'tara, Torah should be learned in purity. It says that in Bavel they could learn Torah and then go get married because they were rich. They could. I'm sorry, other way around. They should get married first and then learn Torah because they were rich and could afford to get married and learn Torah afterwards. Eretz Yisrael, they're poor, so they couldn't afford to get married and then learn Torah. They had to first learn Torah and then get married afterwards. So in Bavel it's called learning Torah B'Tara because they got married before they went to learn Torah, and therefore they can learn Torah without the distraction of having all the desires that a single person has. When they start with Torah became very strong in Bavel, not only was it considered to be that they were Tahar because they got married first, but they decided we don't need to go to the mikveh when you come about carry. The That's called a like a millstone on your neck. It's a heavy load, and it's not, it's the opposite of what we want to have if you're completely devoted to Torah. Bitul Torah, Shem Brachos. And last anything he says, having to go to the mikvah for carry is like Bitul Torah. And they were since they were able to learn Torah because they had enough income, they should not be involved in other side pursuits, even if they're good pursuits, like going to the mikvah after you go had carry. No, it's better just to sit and learn because sitting and learn it fixes everything. Talmud Bavli. And this is all one thing. In other words, that the Talmud Bavli means that there is a it's called darkness in Sanhedrin. The Babylonian Talmud says written in Golos is considered written in darkness, but no, it's not considered to be darkness in the ultimate sense. Because ultimately this darkness produced light. The revelation of Shekhinah, Mikomakom Isa Sham Sanhedrin, as it says in Sanhedrin, even though they're Chutz Laretz, my brother Belula that was mixed in with all sorts of aspects of Torah involving Talmud Bavli. Kaideza Ribui Torah, because there's a lot of Torah which comes out by their having their the proper awe and respect for Kodesh Baruch Hu, and ultimately everything ends up good. Okay, but there's no room to this further. Again, I usually skip all these pieces which we're doing because I don't necessarily find the pieces on HaTzaddik about all to be so instructive. But um, he says they asked why is it so compare the Mabul to force the Yitzhar because the Mabul was the powerful punishment for the Yitzhara, which was the Yitzhara of both arayas and of chamas, both of licentious inappropriate behavior and of theft. How's the teaching reframe Shabbos? I don't think it reframes Shabbos per se. I don't know exactly what it has to do with Shabbos. Just it has to do with that eventually they found that learning Torah is the real antidote to carry. In Bavel and Eretz Yisrael, didn't have as much freedom to learn Torah because they were very poor. In Bavel, where they were rich, they were able to afford it. So Torah is the ultimate tikkun, and the carry is fixed by it being used as an impetus, as a draw, as a push to learn Torah more. Okay, not such exciting pieces, but Tzadok always adds insight. So have a good night and a Gemar Chasima Tova, and Mirza Hashem will pick up. I don't know about Mirza Hashem Sunday next week. Hopefully we'll work out. Have a good night.